Hey guys, welcome back to another action figure review. Up for review today is the new series of Warhammer figures from McFarlane Toys. We're taking a look at the Eliminator Space Marine in the new updated McFarlane packaging, featuring a more modern look with the large plastic window showing off all the accessories and figure. Over at the back, we have artwork of a Space Marine battle with no other information here. Continuing with that minimal look to the boxes, we only have the name of the figure and artwork of the God Emperor himself on the back. Opening the box from the bottom allows you to easily slide out the entire tray, an updated version from the older Warhammer figures. This new style of packaging allows you to simply remove the figure without having to cut any plastic ties. Space Marine Eliminators are the scouts and snipers of the Imperium, equipped with the stripped down version of the Mark X Phobos armor, a bolt sniper rifle and camouflage cloak that lets them blend into the shadows and backgrounds of the battlefield, allowing them to operate with maximum stealth. Also equipped with multiple pouches of specialized ammunition, they can truly deal with any task given to them, including explosive rounds, self-guided executioner rounds that can change direction mid-flight, and even deadly toxin rounds that melt the flesh of their targets. Each Eliminator utilizes advanced optical scopes that offers a range of modes, from thermal to auspex scans that can penetrate through walls. Squads of multiple Eliminators are expected to secure a variety of roles, from knocking out enemy artillery, enemy communications, or picking off other elite units, to simple tasks like thinning out enemy numbers during forward attacks. Let's check out the details of the figure. A bald head cloaked in cloth, we have a bright green goggles worn over the eyes, with the blue and black armored face mask worn underneath. Respirators, black lining in the panels of the armor, and a light dark wash of paint details the head. Over on the side of the head, we can see that it's fully covered with the hood, with the material designed in a modern cloaking patterns of square shapes and edges. The top of the chest is covered by the cloak as well, secured to the chest with a large golden button featuring a cross and a skull design. Underneath, the stomach area is covered in a black reinforced undersuit with large ridges of flexible armor. Removing the cloak as best as we can shows off the armor underneath, with the large brown leather strap across the chest, more of that blue Space Marine armor, and large panels, and another wash of dark paint. Taking a look at the back, the cloak completely covers the entire area, with the large hole at the center to equip the backpack that will be used later in the review. More detail on the cloak is seen here on the design, more light and dark patterns of square shapes and edges. The cloak reaches just almost to the floor, where it is folded into multiple layers here and has a small silver clasp here. Removing the cloak shows us the armor underneath the back, where we will notice a lot more wash is used in the armor here, staining the edges and panels. A large plate of blue armor covers up the shoulder, where we can see the stains from the heavy wash applied here. A few very small scratches are also featured in the armor. While over at the left shoulder, we have a golden trimmed shoulder armor with the large damaged white icon of the Ultramarines at the center. Making the entire area seem dirty, we have more of that black wash staining all the paint details. Plated gloves and forearms, with details like small ports, panels, and small plate sections that make up for the rest of the glove's armor. Applied here is more of that black wash that gets into all the small panel lining of the armor. Taking a look at the waist, we have a large blue plate wrapping around the body, with the large blue buckle at the center. Brown straps wrap onto the thighs, with the large purity seal attached to the side. A large golden skull and crossbones attaches to the belt, with 2 pages of scripture written on those torn pages. While the heavy black wash does bring out the scribbling sculpted onto the pages, it's a very faint effect, but you can make out the Inquisitor letter I on it as well. Over at the back, we have a small plate of armor covering up the backside, with a few panels detailing it, with a small black pouch with a grenade attached to it. Attached to the right thigh is a massive row of black pouches, each detailed with wrinkles, straps, and a small skull for the button. And on the left thigh, more black pouches attached to the thighs with a brown strap. We can see at the back how the brown straps wrap around the legs and into the armor. We have more unique sculpting on the figure, as the right knee has a reinforced section of armor here, completely black with large padded sections. On the left knee, we have the standard knee armor here, painted with the white fire support icon. Wrapping up the details of the figure with the boots. Large standard Space Marine boots with large sections of armor, plates, with a noticeable amount of black wash here, getting into the lining of the boots and staining the armor, giving it a dirty look. Let's check out the articulation. Starting off, we have a head resting on the plate that bends up and down and all the way around, with the head being on its own ball joint. The cloth hood has a small material inside to keep its shape that doesn't really bend like a wire should. The cloth cape can be removed pretty easily, but it is attached to the chest with a golden button and does not come off. Just like the other Space Marines, the shoulder armor has its own ball joint, allowing it to articulate around. The shoulders do open but are blocked by the armor and fully rotate. We have rotation at the bicep, double jointed elbows that have a tight fit, wrists that rotate and bend up and down depending on the rotation, a ball joint at the chest allowing you to bend forward and back and around, and another ball joint at the waist with similar range. Normally the legs would open up with a ton of range on these figures, but thanks to all that bulky bags and even the purity seal, it's locked in place. Even the other leg is blocked a bit by the bags. We have double jointed knees that bend back with a great range. When the knee is bent, you can rotate the leg, but not when it's locked in place. And we have ankles that can bend up and down, with a foot that twists, and toes that bend upward. The bulky Space Marines are at their own unique scale using McFarlane's 7-inch scale, making them much larger than normal 1/12 scale figures. The Eliminator having a much larger appearance thanks to that cloak adding much more bulk to the figure. Next to the original Ultramarine, we can see just how much that dark wash darkened the normally bright blue armor on the figure, one paint feature that's noticeably missing from the older Space Marines. Here we have the Ultramarines Reaver, who both use the same base armor both in-game and as an action figure. The wash really gives the Eliminator a completely different shade of blue, as well as the accessories that change the look. The Dark-Tide human-sized traders are much shorter, giving the Space Marines in this series a much larger look at this 7-inch scale. Looking at 1/12 scale figures from Hasbro, we can see just how large, even for McFarlane toys, the Space Marines are with all that bulky armor. The figures are heavy and chunky compared to most standard 6-inch figures. Jada Toys usually runs on the smaller side of the 6-inch scale, with human figures being small but accurate to their character sizes. Even with the more bulky figures like Bison, they are still very small compared to what McFarlane puts out. Cosmic Legions by 4 Horsemen Studios are on the larger side of the 6-inch scale, especially when you start to get into the more larger and bulkier figures. They do mix in pretty well, although being a bit smaller, the Space Marines' large sizes sort of works with these figures. Starting off with the accessories, we have the backpack that goes on almost every Space Marine. This one has some more cloth attached to it, matching the cloak on the body. The large backpack pegs into the socket onto the back. With such a large lip, it clicks into place and stays on, making the figure top heavy, but these large joints can handle it. We have a very large bolt sniper rifle, black with a few silver paint sections on it, and a light wash, and is made of a semi-soft plastic. We have an extra hand in the open palm position. And just like all joints on figures, it's much easier to remove when the joints are heated up. Afterwards, the new hand tightly sockets into place. We have a collectible card with the same artwork on the box and information on the figure on the back. And it wouldn't be a McFarlane figure without the basic stand with the Warhammer logo on it. It feels like everyone is starting to get into cloth goods with figures. Even McFarlane, who is notorious for using thick plastic capes on his figures, has finally put out a polyester type cloth on this figure, really transforming the look. While this armor has been used before in the Reaver figure, but with all the new sculpted parts, the cloak, and the unique head sculpt, side by side it's clear to see the work that they put into this figure. I do notice and am enjoying that use of black wash all over the figure. McFarlane figures usually have amazing sculpting but with little use of paint. Here on this figure, we got some great details and lots of black wash, and even some golden trims and buttons. I'm always surprised when McFarlane announces a new wave of Warhammer figures, and with the new Space Marine game out, I really do hope we get more figures from that game. The new style of box is very much appreciated, especially now that I don't have to destroy the boxes to get the figures out. With an alternate hand for posing with the rifle, as the only real extra accessory, this figure does feel a bit bare on being able to change things up. I'm assuming the large cloak it comes with factors into some of that cost, and to be fair, I don't really see myself posing this figure without that sniper rifle anyways, but the lack of more accessories is noticeable. Something as simple as a sidearm would have been much appreciated. One of my major complaints on a lot of the Space Marines was a lack of some sort of black wash, and on this figure we have a ton of it. It really is noticeable and even makes some of the unmarked boring parts like the boots and shoulder armor really stand out with the stains and panel lining getting colored in. It's no secret that I am a fan of these large, bulky, clicky joint Space Marines. You get one of these figures in your hand and you can already feel the chunkiness of the figures and the weight. Slowly, McFarlane is pumping out more features and details into these figures, and the inclusion of cloth accessories is a game changer. It's a wonder if they'll continue to add cloth to figures. I really don't see a lot of Warhammer figures getting any, but this figure was the perfect figure to test it out on, matching the miniature models and looking great at this scale. Overall, as a figure, it's exactly more of what you're expecting out of the McFarlane Space Marines, with a cool cape and sniper rifle. If you picked one up before, you know how bulky and heavy these figures are, and they look great on the shelf. It's definitely worth picking up for the collection. A unique looking figure, especially with that camouflage cloak, this figure would look great with the rest of the collection. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave a comment, let me know how you like this figure, hit that like button, subscribe, or share this video with your friends to help out the channel.